The game's up for the big banks, with the Finance Minister firing a warning shot that if they don't buck up their ideas, she'll look to regulate them. In the meantime, Cabinet's agreed to beef up Kiwibank with capital of up to $500 million through a New Zealand investor-only capital raise. Cabinet also made some big calls around the Cook Strait ferries today, but as senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch reports, the government wasn't keen to talk about it.
Watch out, big banks, big government is coming for you.
Today, we are putting the major banks on notice. We expect them to act on the Commerce Commission's recommendations.
In short, we want to disrupt the status quo.
In the form of its own not-so-big bank, Kiwibank, which could see a $500 million injection through a capital raise to be agreed upon by mid-next year.
Well, I'm an older sister. Whenever my little brother or my little sister said that they were as good as me, I said they weren't as well.
Responding to the Commerce Commission's market study, which found New Zealand's banking sector lacked competition and the big four banks effectively operated as an oligopoly.
Better capitalising Kiwibank will enable it to compete more vigorously against the big four Australian-owned banks.
And as the government picked a fight with the bankers...
And we do accept the advice of the Commerce Commission, who spent extensive months and time talking to those who understand the sector about what it would take to disrupt what had become a cosy pillow fight.
A small protest gathered outside to fight for their ferries.
Who's rail ferries? Who's rail ferries?
The deadline has come, nearly a year to the day since the Finance Minister cancelled the ferry replacement project IREX, citing major cost blowouts. As Free News understands, Cabinet was today thrashing out the final details of its fix to the ferry fiasco, but refusing to confirm any of the details.
Did Cabinet agree today to procuring 2 medium-sized non-rail enabled ferries?
We don't talk about what happens in Cabinet. As we've talked about with respect to ferries, we'll have more to say about it shortly before the end of the year.
Labor thinks it knows, though.
So I understand the government are going to announce that they're going to be buying 2 smaller ferries. They're going to cost more than the ferries that they cancelled, and Nicola Willis is going to look particularly stupid.
The previously ordered ferries would have allowed trains to drive on with cargo. Smaller, non-rail enabled ferries would require containers to be transferred onto ferries by truck.
That was non-rail enabled. It's around about 55,000 extra moves of a container on and off the wagons per annum and that. So that's all just additional time, additional risk in that as well, compared to trains just being put on and off within about 45-50 minutes.
Kiwi Rail, which currently operates the ferries, has advised the government on splitting off the Inter-Islander service to a partially Crown-owned company. That could take the form of a Schedule 4A company where the Crown is the majority shareholder, similar to Auckland's City Rail Link. They didn't want to answer questions about that.
Did Cabinet agree to establish a Schedule 4A company to procure and run the new ferries?
Again, we don't talk about what happens in Cabinet. You'll just have to wait and see.
Or anything else.
Did Cabinet agree to a fiscal envelope of $900 million for the ferries when the larger rail-enabled ones cost $551 million?
So again, Jenna, I'd just say to you the same answer I just gave for the last 2
Are they
questions.
going to cost more?
Which is that we actually don't talk about what happens in Cabinet. We said we've committed to saying more about the ferries before the end of the year, and we'll do so, so watch the space.
Is Winston Peters going to get a new associate ministership responsible for Kiwi Rail?
Again, last question on the same subject with the same answer, which is that we will talk about ferries before the end of the year.
Not even guaranteeing their deal will be cheaper than the one they cancelled due to cost.
Last one, is the total cost going to be more than $3 billion?
I don't know how to express what I've just answered with the previous 5 questions. You've asked the same question. I'll give you the same answer, which is the Cabinet. We don't talk about it, and we'll have more to say about it shortly.
Do you want to comment on that one?
You've got so much to look forward to. I look forward to commenting on all of these things.
All right,
It could be more
looks like we're getting to running out of questions, but
We did have more questions, but we're picking they would have got the same answer.